You've heard that bats cause COVID-19, but the biggest risk for the next pandemic isn't bats or wild animals, it's factory farms. The meat industry plays a major role in creating deadly diseases, yet it remains largely unspoken. Exposing this truth threatens one of the most powerful industries on the planet. So most people remain unaware of the direct connection between meat production and global pandemics. Zoonotic diseases, or viruses that jump from animals to humans, are responsible for the deadliest pandemics in history. Most people have heard of bird flu, swine flu, and COVID-19. But what they don't realize is that the conditions inside factory farms create the perfect breeding ground for these deadly viruses. Inside these industrial operations, thousands of animals are crammed together in tight, unsanitary spaces, which allows viruses to mutate rapidly. The more a virus spreads among animals, the higher the chance of it evolving into a strain that can infect humans. This is precisely what has happened in past pandemics and continues to be a major concern for future outbreaks. When COVID-19 first emerged, wet markets were immediately blamed, but factory farms pose an even greater risk. While wet markets bring different species into close contact, factory farms operate on an entirely different scale, housing billions of animals at any given time. The sheer number of animals confined in one place dramatically increases the risk of viral transmission. Unlike wild animals in wet markets, farmed animals live in constant contact with humans, providing viruses with a direct pathway to jump species. The risk is amplified by the overuse of antibiotics, which is common in the meat industry to keep animals alive in unsanitary conditions. This excessive antibiotic use is a major driver of drug-resistant superbugs, which are already responsible for millions of deaths worldwide and could trigger the next global health crisis. The Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, warns that 75% of emerging infectious diseases originate from animals, many of them stemming from livestock production. If this information is surprising to you, it's because it's deliberately kept out of public discourse. The next pandemic could already be forming inside a factory farm, and yet most people have never even heard of the risks. That's why it's crucial to stay informed. If you're finding this eye-opening, take a second to share this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the truth about how our food system is fueling the next health crisis. Historically, some of the worst pandemics have been directly linked to the domestication and industrial farming of animals. The 1918 Spanish flu, one of the deadliest pandemics in history, originated in pigs and poultry before mutating into a deadly human virus. The 2009 swine flu pandemic was traced back to pig farms in North America, ultimately infecting millions worldwide. Highly lethal strains of bird flu, such as H5N1 and H7N9, have repeatedly emerged from intensive chicken farming, threatening global health each time they appear. Mad cow disease, or bovine spongiform encephalopathy, BSE, was caused by feeding cows ground-up animal remains, demonstrating how dangerous industrial meat production practices can be. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, these examples highlight the consistent role that factory farms have played in spreading deadly diseases. If factory farms are such an obvious risk, why isn't this common knowledge? The answer lies in the massive influence of the meat industry. Large meat corporations spend millions of dollars lobbying governments to ensure regulations remain weak and that public awareness remains low. The same corporations that profit from industrial meat production also have ties to major media outlets, shaping the public narrative about pandemics while keeping the factory farm connection out of mainstream discussions. Meanwhile, consumers are constantly fed the idea that meat consumption is natural and necessary, preventing people from questioning the larger risks associated with meat production. A report by the Heinrich Böll Foundation and Friends of the Earth, titled Meat Atlas 2021, details the extent of corporate influence over public health policies and information. The good news is that solutions exist. Reducing or eliminating factory-farmed meat from your diet directly lowers the demand for high-risk farming, helping to reduce the conditions that lead to viral outbreaks. Supporting plant-based and cultivated meat alternatives eliminates the possibility of zoonotic transmission altogether. Raising awareness about the connection between meat and pandemics is essential because the next pandemic is not a question of if, but when. If factory farming continues to operate as it does today, global health experts warn that we are simply waiting for disaster to strike again. The truth about factory farming and pandemics remains hidden because it is inconvenient for powerful industries, but the evidence is clear. The meat industry is not just a threat to animal welfare and the environment. It is a major public health risk, one that we can no longer afford to ignore.